This is the fabulous Hacienda Zuleta in Ecuador. Would we enjoy our stay at the estate of a former president? Well, it's a little complicated. In October 2025, we traveled to Ecuador. Our itinerary had been curated by Kensington Tours, and that in turn meant that we were getting the highest level of service and attention. That's a detail that will be important to this story later on. But on this morning, we were traveling north from Quito. Our destination would be Hacienda Zuleta. We traveled through Cayambe on the way to Ibarra. There had been some protests in this area just the week before, but our tour coordinators had monitored the situation and gave us the green light to proceed. When you reach Hacienda Zuleta's large central courtyard, you're immediately impressed. This is a spot with history going back to ancient civilizations and proceeding to modern times. This is the office of former Ecuadorian President Galo Plaza Lasso. He was an important diplomat, but he was also a humanitarian for those in this area. If you come to Hacienda Zuleta, you'll be offered a guided tour, and you should take it. They'll tell you the history of his presidency and how he created more equitable land ownership in this part of Ecuador. Speaking of land, even though parts of the estate were partitioned off to the local people, it remains enormous and beautiful. As a part of our initial tour, we saw the chapel on the premises, and in addition, we saw the cheese-making facilities. That's right, they make their own cheeses here. Back outside, we learned that a lot of the fruits and vegetables that are incorporated into the meals here are actually grown on the site. There is a small gift shop that sells locally crafted items. Throughout the hacienda, there are many public spaces for use by the guests. At the time we visited, I think there were only 6 guests in 3 rooms, so this area became the main reception. That also meant that we got a choice table for dining. This lunch, which included the locally crafted cheese, was really good. And at this point, we thought we were looking forward to 3 or 4 more such meals. After lunch, we headed back to our room. Every room was different, but I have to also imagine that every room was amazing. Ours certainly was. The wood stove, which we actually needed for heat, was probably my favorite feature. And the bathroom was pretty spectacular as well. How's that for a bathroom view? Once we were settled into our room, we headed over to the spa.
And this is the spa.
Don't let the size of the spa fool you. They had all the services you could want. You could get a massage, they had a nice pool, they had a hot tub, and you could just lounge in there and be warm. And after about an hour at the spa, I decided to take another walk around the grounds to see what I hadn't seen on the guided portion. I quickly realized that this was a fool's errand. This place is enormous. But it wasn't going to be a problem because we had 2 full days and I would explore what I couldn't get to today, tomorrow. When the property is heated with wood stoves and fireplaces, you need a good supply. And though irrelevant to the heat, having some worms on hand couldn't hurt anybody. That evening, temperatures fell into the 50s. That was no problem though. Throughout the property there were warm fires. I felt they added to the magic of this destination. So it was time for a cozy bedtime. The next morning, something we had seen in Quito a few days earlier became important to us again. Upon arrival, we could see protests from our hotel room. There had been some minor violence, and certainly I had no vote on how the government chose to deal with the protesters. So anyway, we'd been alerted that the tour company was keeping an eye on things, and sure enough, that morning we got word that we were going to have to leave early. I'm showing you our breakfast, which we were having at 8:30, and that's when we learned we were leaving at 10. After breakfast, we were confronted by the reality that instead of having the whole day to explore, we had about an hour. So we chose to spend that hour going to see the condors. Hacienda Zuleta operates a condor rescue. Despite being the national bird of Ecuador, condors are endangered. These pens offer a place for injured condors to continue to live, find a partner, and breed.
Capture that female.
I have to say it felt like we left Hacienda Zuleta in a hurry. They wanted us back down south near Quito before the roads became blocked. And as you can see, the protesters were indeed getting ready to block the roads. That was what they'd done the weekend before, and the roads had been closed for 3 to 4 days in places. This giant bizcocho seemed unconcerned. As we changed from the northern to the southern hemisphere in Cayambe, it became evident that we were going to make it to Quito just fine. That's not to say that there wasn't a lot of police presence, but as a general proposition, you don't take video of armed guys in a foreign country when they can tell what you're doing. And then we were in the suburbs of Quito. The sudden nature of our departure from Hacienda Zuleta had made it sound a lot more exciting than it really ended up being. But still, I think the government was keeping an eye on things a little bit more than normal. Now, back in Quito, what would we do? Not that. The answer was that we would take the teleférico, that is, the cable car, up Pichincha volcano. And to me, this was actually pretty good news because this was something I had wanted to do anyway. As we ascended, the weather was looking a little iffy, but even though it looked like rain, the views were still spectacular. The cable car had taken us to about 13,000 feet in altitude. We were looking down at Quito, but we were also looking down at the clouds. And the clouds, which were very definitely storm clouds, were coming to us. Now I'm a big fan of storms, so I wanted to see what we were about to get. And we were about to get a thunderstorm with heavy rain. At this point, like everyone else, I sought shelter. The station had a coffee shop that ran out of coffee, and a gift shop, but it had a roof too. The cable cars had stopped running during the storm, which I guess makes sense. That meant that a lot of us were waiting to go back down. And when the rain finally had stopped, we queued up. And then it was just about our turn, except that sound is exactly what you think it is. The tram started again and there was much rejoicing. We went back down to our van and driver and through the crowded streets of Quito. But I will say this, once we were back in Quito, we had a relaxing and beautiful hotel room. And now for the drama-free part of the video. Oh, come on, man. What's with the music? Anyway. I'll give Kensington credit. This room certainly says, "We're sorry. How can we make it up to you?" Well, this is a way. So that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed it enough that you'll subscribe to my channel or at least like the video. Both of those things help me a lot. Bye until next time.